it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Welcome to the Muscle, Mind, and Money Podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Dominic.
And this is Nastasia. Now on to the show.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Muscle, Mind, and Money Podcast. We are back. We're better than ever. And I don't even know what episode we're on, but we got a special episode to do today. This is an episode that we're specifically recording for is a company called Flynn West Solutions. Flynn West Solutions is really an evergreen marketing approach and business solution services that's been helping us create a new venture for us, a little company called Two Brothers Toffee that we're excited to talk about today. And why we're doing it this week specifically is this has been a big week for us. This has been a week where we finalized packaging. We've thought through the processes of distribution and supply chain. And we're in a very exciting spot before we hit the go button, before everything goes live. The websites, the social media platforms, the printing of the bags to the t-shirts we're going to wear. And as we reflect back, part of the key that's going to unlock the door for us is a really clear and picturesque story behind why we started this. Because for anyone that does know Nastasia and I, we're not candy people in the sense of, when I put that in air quotes, something we've done our whole lives. But the creation of a company such as Two Brothers Toffee has been something we've been working towards our entire life. And we were just reflecting before we started our podcast just to make sure our story's correct. But it's one to where I think there's a story in this for everyone, and would like to take you through it.
So how did these two grown corporate executives working in the fitness industry for almost 20 years, and I was going on to year 14, pivot into starting their own business in candy? Like, when we tell the story to friends and family, the immediate reaction we usually get is a weird, nervous laugh, and then they go, "What?" Because it isn't something that we grew up doing. Dominic and I, for a long time, have been known as the fitness people, and we still are fitness people in our hearts and in our core. But we decided it was time to do something different and overall find a way to pivot and change into our biggest goals and our biggest ambitions for the second half of our life. And it didn't really matter what industry we were going in. It was mattering that we aligned with our values and our vision and our mission. And through Two Brothers Toffee, here we are today. So this whole thing started with an idea 2 years ago. So unbeknownst to me, did you know that Nicholas was making toffee?
Did you just point to me?
Yes.
Did you ask me? 2 years ago, did I know my brother was making toffee? Possibly. Had I paid attention to it? No. Had I ever tasted it? No. But knowing Nicholas Genova, one of my older brothers, he's creative in his kitchen. He's creative in his mind, but he's someone that has such a big heart and does for the community. And what he had started, unbeknownst to us, was before a couple years ago, actually all the way back to the early 2000s, he started making toffee as a way to raise money for charity. He's a police officer. He's been a police officer for many years, serving the community. So he's got this big philanthropic heart that he does. And he thought through the vessel of making a homemade candy. And around growing up, we did grow up with almond toffee. Like, we grew up buying it, eating it. It was part of the fabric of our family. But you turned it on when the first time you had ever had it.
Yeah, so some way, somehow, 2 years ago, Nicholas, for the holiday, sent us in this cute little tin. This
paint can.
Paint can tin. This almond toffee. And he sent us one tin box, and it said Merry Christmas. And he had this homemade little wrap around it. And I opened up the tin and I start eating it. And I am like, what is this? So we call up Nicholas, and he had explained to us the whole story that he had been perfecting this recipe over the last 15 years. He was selling it and giving money and donating it to charity around the holidays. And this was like the first year we got one of the batches. So I remember coming home in January from a long day at work and opening the tin. It was like the last few pieces. And I looked at Dominic and I was like, how are we not selling this? Now, as a backstory, Dominic and I are not confectionery magicians. We're very basic cooking people in the kitchen. There was no way we were going to be able to make it. But I was telling him, Nicholas needs to make this and sell it. It is so freaking good. And because it was so left field and so ridiculous, you kind of like blew me off, right?
Yeah. Well, your capitalistic mind went straight to, this is amazing. Yes, it's unique. It's different and we should sell it. But and I'm sure if everyone at home or wherever you are listening, think of, you know what, we got this great idea, or we have this amazing thing that someone baked or made or they painted, and it's a family member.
Right.
And your initial reaction is you could make money doing this because you know it's good.
Yeah.
Period. You know it's good, and you take pride in the fact that you're family.
Mm-hmm.
Many people are like, oh man, I should sell my mom's tomato sauce recipe, or I should sell my dad's apple pie, or we make the best baklava, or I know I'm all kind of on desserts here, but it's to the points of, it was such a compliment to Nicholas.
Yes.
And it was really good quality. Now, mind you, we grew up with really good quality almond toffee because in Grand Junction, where I was born and raised, there's a great almond toffee company called Instrum's Toffee. And I think I had in my mind, it was the world's best. Mm-hmm. That's until we had a taste of Nicholas's toffee, and then the game changed.
Right.
But back to what Nastasia was saying, at the time that this got planted in our mind, it was really Nastasia's seed because she was like, we should sell it. But we were happy and content in the roles that we were doing. We were pleased. But we started to share that toffee, if you remember.
Yes.
We shared it with a few friends and family and the neighbor.
Right. And I immediately said, this is it. It's Two Brothers Toffee. Like, people are loving it. Our neighbor was asking us where we can get more. We told her, well, you're going to have to wait till next year when our brother makes another batch. And that was kind of that. So the rest of that year continued. We didn't really think much of it until next Christmas. Nicholas sent us another set, and this time we asked us to send him like 5 or 6 of the tin cans.
Yeah, we asked for a half dozen. So he sent up 6 pounds of it. 1
Right.
pound that he was making per can. And because we were like, look, this is an awesome gift. Mm-hmm. We're just going to give this away as Christmas gifts on behalf of what Nicholas had made. Because what did it say on it? Genova's Hot Rod Toffee?
Yeah.
Or Genova's Work Kitchen Toffee? Something like that. So we started to give it out. But Nastasia started to ask, as soon as we get, now think of this, we give you a Christmas gift and then we never follow up. That's what most people do. No, we gave the Christmas gift and then Nastasia followed up. Hey, what'd you think of the toffee? What'd you think about that? Can you believe it? Dominic's brother made it. But like, she was already doing market research.
But I was so proud and I just believed in it so much.
No, it's beyond belief. You were convicted. Like you were just convicted it was going to be something that Nicholas should go do by himself.
Yes.
It's always the story. Nicholas should go do it. The only reason why we called it Two Brothers was because it was, Nicholas is the genius that can make it, but Dominic and Nastasia can go sell it.
Yeah.
Again, this whole time, we're happy, we're well content in our work, and this is just fantasies of fun of what we could do.
Mm-hmm. And then as time went on, and we had a lot of life-changing events over the span of about a year and a half. Dominic and Nicholas lost their mother unexpectedly. About 6 months later, I lost my mother somewhat expectedly. She was ill. And then 6 months after that, I got diagnosed with breast cancer completely out of nowhere. And it was this year and a half of a lot of curveballs. And anybody who's been through life-altering experiences of losing a parent or anything that kind of rocks your world and makes you reevaluate things, it was starting to become incredibly apparent that the environment and the situation that we were in at work was no longer where we wanted to be. And for the larger reasons of, we wanted to do things on a scale that we could really impact people, impact humanity, make a difference, bring creativity and innovation to the world without boundaries and without, stipulations. And we wanted to create, honestly, a lifestyle freedom for our family and have the autonomy to do things in a creative and ethical and innovative way on our terms. And as we became more and more vigilant in allowing ourselves to see this vision and allowing ourselves to believe that it was something we could do, we really started to say, we've kind of outgrown this apprenticeship in the job that we're at now, and we're ready to move forward to create on our own and to impact on our own. And at that point, we were like, okay, so what does that mean? And how do we do that?
Yeah, that's a really good reflection. So if I break this into a timeline for anyone that doesn't know us or the story, it's 2017 we get the toffee. 2018 we're like getting gobs of it so we can give it out. Again, this is all satisfying on the side, but 2019 was the year. So in late 2018, I lost my mother. 2019, Nastasia loses her mother, and our lives as a couple and as individuals come to this peak. It comes to this peak of, and in the best way possible. I know through all the, we're sorry to hear your misfortunes, through misfortunes is the golden nuggets of where we're at today,
100%.
because it made us stop and pause. And it
Yes.
made us stop and pause to be the speed and how fast we're going within the universe and within our corporate careers and where we're at. Is it truly fulfilling, not on the financial, but on the value principles that we were really seeking at that time?
Yes.
Two Brothers Toffee was not even a sparkle in anyone's eyes.
No.
It was a fantasy of a Christmas before, because it was just something we had talked about. Mind you, we hadn't even talked to Nicholas about any of this.
Nope.
This is just Dominic's and Nastasia's brains of, could we, would we, what if, if we win the lottery, what would we do? Just those fantasy fun talks. Life hits you with a slap in the face. Here's the reality of where things at. What you knew 6 months ago is not the reality of today.
Yep.
And we decided to make a change. We decided to make a personal change, and we quit our jobs with no other job in mind. We had ideas. We had business plans.
And we had an overarching vision. We just didn't have what fit into create that. Like, we knew where we wanted to go. We just didn't have the details
Yes.
of what it was that was going to get us
Yeah.
there.
So, I mean, we quit in 2019 from a corporate positions with great benefits, great company, well paid. And then we had agreed to a 90-day workout period to exit the position. Yes, at the very day 89, Nastasia gets diagnosed with breast cancer, because at that time we were planning to leave Canada. We were planning to go back to the U.S. and we were cleaning up our medical. I mean, the benefits of medical for everyone here, we were taking advantage of that. And then we realized we're still going too fast. Even though we'd quit our jobs, we were going faster to try to change something that we needed to stop and reflect on.
Yeah, and so that diagnosis was literally, in a sense, and I was driving the car with Dominic in the car, and the doctor called to give me the diagnosis, and I literally hit the brakes, not just metaphorically, physically I hit the brakes, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And we're sitting in the car together with my foot so hard on the brake pedal, and it was in that moment that we were like, the universe and God is telling us something so big right now, and we didn't hear it, and we thought we heard it, and we thought we were moving in the direction. But until that moment when we hit the brakes, that's really where everything actually began to change and to pivot, to be able to be in a position to create something innovative outside of the box, outside of our comfort zone, because we literally had our foot on the brake for the first time, I would say, in our entire relationship of over 12 years.
Of us, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And as we hit the brake that we hit put us in a way that where we needed to slow down,
Yes.
not the world,
No.
to then catch what was valuable and then move forward with that. So the blessing is everything that had happened in that summer of 2019. Us quitting our jobs because the universe told us to, if I put it as easy as that. In the exit period that we decided on, yes, we had thought of new business plans and to move countries, and then we were going to leave Canada and try to work, blah, blah, blah. Then we get into a spot to where on day 89, before our 90 days of actually leaving the industry and going somewhere else, You get diagnosed, we stop, we call our employer. They graciously say, look, we're going to help you throughout any kind of change that you need. But and they stop. And that was just a calling. Like, listen, there's a lot of support around you. The world that you're in right now may be the perfect place for you. Don't try to run away. And we started to evaluate. And we were in Canada. We have here healthcare for all. So we stopped and we slowed down. By stopping, we had to really figure out who we were, what was really important to us before we ever went to go chase financial opportunities again. And this is where, let's call it, September 1st of 2019 through December 31st was this period of what do we go do? What is smart for us to go do? Natural space for us to go back into is fitness. And to keep going there, consulting, start our own gyms, do something here, work remotely. And something didn't feel right during this period.
Well, it's like we had spent so much time in this industry and had so much credit and success in that space that it had become part of our fabric. Like, it was who we were. So to try to think outside of that or to move beyond that for months, at least for me, was somewhat crippling, because it's like, I don't know if I can do anything else. I don't know what else I can do. So much of our time. And when you have two people in a marriage working in the same industry, I mean, just imagine that. How do you even start to believe or think beyond that? And
beyond what? What are you talking about?
Beyond working in that industry. Like, it was like we kept going back to thinking about what we could do in that industry. And then something in our gut was like, no, like we didn't want to stay in the industry. But because we had spent so much time there, we also didn't really know what else we were good at or what else we could do or what else was out there for us. So in this stillness of time, once we were able to get past, we are not just fitness, and that is not our identity. We started to kind of kick the industry to the curb and start to think of the priorities and the values in general of what we wanted, which is where we came up with.
Well, that's where we started back to. So yeah, if we take September of 2019 to December 31st, Nastasia has breast cancer, and then we get it diagnosed. She gets both boobs removed, and then we're into chemo. Yeah. So at this point, up until December 31st, because part of the big story starts on November 28th when Nicholas came up to see you on your first week of chemo.
Yes.
Was as we're thinking, what do we do? Because right now we're in a short period of time where basically we're taking care of the flu. If you think about it, like we just looked at it as like this too will pass and we will beat this. It gave us time to really think about what is the industry and what is the work we want to go back into. Nastasia is telling you the story of like naturally your brain goes right to what you know, and because you're lazy and you're scared of something new.
Totally.
And you know if you're a good shoemaker, you're going to go back into shoes. If you're a good house builder, if you're a good electrician, whatever, you go back into the industry you know. And that for some reason wasn't setting to satisfy us. Nastasia goes through, if anyone that's ever dealt with cancer, you're not sick from cancer. You're sick from the treatment and the treatment of chemo. And so she's going through her first week of chemo. We were planning for it. We invite my brother up at this time too, because really at the point of finding something new to do was at the last point in my mind and your mind as well. It was about, we got a family health situation. We're going to go kick its ass.
Yeah.
And once we kick its ass, we'll figure something else out. But for the caregiver and the patient, I'm the caregiver, she's the patient. The caregiver has a lot of idle time on their hands. So Nastasia is resting. She's recuperating. My brother comes up to help us on the first week. It's also the same week that's the American Thanksgiving. And before we invite my brother up, Nastasia is like, hey, when your brother's coming up, sorry for the voiceover here, get him to make us some toffee.
So there was something about once I came to terms with it's okay to move on from fitness, I just couldn't stop thinking about Two Brothers Toffee.
It's the only thing she went back to. In fact, in the month of November, that's all she would keep talking about. If anything, I ignored her every time, and it was getting irritated. Because I get her entrepreneur spirit, but at the same time, you're telling someone that knows one industry really, really well that we should go be Geppetto and a shoemaker somewhere else. It just couldn't even fathom.
Nothing about this shit was logical, you guys. There was nothing outside of an instinct and a continuous. It was like somebody was talking to me, and I, for 2 years on and off, have been thinking about this, and I was like, I just want to go for it. So when your brother comes up, I have one request. Can he please make the toffee? Because at this point, we don't even know how it's made. We don't know how complicated it is. We've known from him that it's a very secret special recipe, and we don't know how to cook. So he ships us the tools. We order some things, and arriving through the front door comes Nicholas, while I am like dead on the couch from my first chemo, which was wretched.
Yes, and to anyone that's a great partner in the world, and I'm sure all of you are great partners, you know that when your significant other is telling you that they want something, you don't believe it or think they need it or whatever, you satisfy, you pacify them. And so by doing so, I had told Nastasia, because she was still cuckoo with her craziness over toffee, I told her, look, let's at least have Nicholas come up. He comes up, he makes some toffee. If he thinks it's a good idea to maybe start a toffee company, we'll let him take the lead. Because if I was a betting person with cards on the table, I was hedging my bets that my brother, Nicholas, would be like, no, are you crazy?
Yeah.
We're not going to do this. And
Yeah.
we didn't want to be offensive to him.
Yeah.
By any means on saying this is what we need to go do. So Nicholas was really the ultimate decision maker without his knowing this. So he comes in, walks in the door, November 28th, hugs and kisses, and we start sitting down and we start making Thanksgiving dinner. He stays with us 4 days. On day 3 of 4, so he's got 2 or 3. He was on the later portion of his stay. He goes, hey, let's make some toffee. You ordered the stuff. You ordered the pots, the pans, the utensils, whatever we need. I said, yes. And so, hey, Nicholas, tell me about the toffee and where you started with it. So then we started to learn the story of how he created the toffee. Since 2005, he was like, look, I wanted to make my own homemade almond toffee. Can't be that hard. And you realize it was extremely hard, and through many failed batches and many failed attempts, but he would only do it annually. He'd do it every Christmas. He said 5 years after he first started, he really feels like he nailed the formula, and he'd been playing with it. And when he says play with it, all he would do is make it and sell it for charity or give it away to friends and family, and be just something he'd do around the holidays, because it's kind of a holiday anytime kind of candy. And this is perfect. Lines up perfect.
Yeah.
November 28th, he needs to make some toffee. He hadn't made toffee for everybody. And we told him we just had a bunch of friends here in Vancouver that loved the toffee he sent us the year before. And so now it was time to have him catch up.
And he was really hell-bent that he was doing it to be able, it was his way of providing to give back.
Unique, fun, homemade.
Yeah.
Think of the farmer's market kitchens, just the grandma's kind of toffee.
Yeah, and his heart is so huge on doing things to help others. Like Nicholas in our family is the one who takes care of everybody. And his desire to do that goes not just throughout our family, but even beyond that. And it's like his thing once a year to be able to give back. And he'll like pick a charity every year. So he starts to make it. Honestly, I wish I could tell you how that went, but I was halfway asleep and not feeling good for the majority of the time. But him and Dominic made a few batches. Dominic is like drilling him with questions. Nicholas at this point still has no idea.
I didn't make any batches. I just sat at the
You
table
were watching,
and watched.
yeah.
Because making anything culinary, confectionery, baking, that's not my game. I'll eat it. I'll watch you do it. I'm not going to be rude and just sit on the couch until it's ready.
Yeah. And then after a few batches, Dominic looked Nicholas straight in the eye and said, hey, do you think we can sell this?
Kinda, yeah. It was more of the loop-de-loop route of, you got something to sell here. This is really good.
Yeah.
And he didn't believe even his own hype. He's a humble individual like that. And he was like, oh, you think so? I know it's good. I think it's classic. It reminds us of growing up, of some of the classic instruments toffee. Like, it's really good. And I think it's getting better. And yeah, people love it at work. And everyone, our Aunt Barbara, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Nicholas. So I stop. And I stop, and Nastasia interrupts.
I couldn't handle the rah la la. And I just like lift my head up from the pillow, literally half out of it from chemo. And I was like, we're going to sell the toffee.
Yeah. Because, so as she awakes from the grave of sleep, she wakes up and says, we're going to sell the toffee. Nicholas looks at her and is like, oh, that's a great idea. Mind you, Nicholas and I are thinking of what's his life beyond what he does? Like what, just as, because we're in a reflected state, he's in a reflected state. So with Nastasia's just burst of energy that was there, he stopped. Now at this point, it was basically asking him, do you want to start a business together? And I for sure was hedging the bet he would not. He hedged the bet and said, absolutely, we need to sell this. And at the scalability point, I'm in the place of, wait, we need to sell this for charity? We need to, like, what's your intentions on selling this? Because he had never marketed it and sold it nor packaged it. It was all in just, again, local groups and charities that he would donate it to or even raise money with it. He said, well, you guys are the business geniuses. You figure it out. I got a great toffee. And then I see his confidence come in with it. I'm like, yes, you do. So we sit down with a yellow notepad and a piece of paper. Nastasia like kind of rolls over on the pillow on the couch to listen in.
And that day the business plan was
we
made.
start drawing it out. We said,
Yeah.
look, if we don't even know what it costs to make it. We buy everything at the grocery store, the most highest price way to do it. So think of everyone trying to go start a chocolate chip company and all you're doing is buying stuff from like your local grocery store to start it with.
Yeah.
And I said, there's a lot of research. There's a lot of way to go down this. This is going to be a deep rabbit hole. But I'm in a position, I'm fortunate enough with Nastasia there. We got quite a few weeks of rest and recovery ahead of us. Nicholas, you go back to your day job of serving the community and protecting the community of Grand Junction, Colorado. And I'll do the research. I'll figure it out. I felt like if we were creating the band, I was the band manager.
You sure were.
That's what I felt like at that time. I'll just go do all the road work. The star singer's on the couch recovering and the guy that had the idea for the band. But where I started to realize is to start a business, just as like we've done in this, in an industry you don't know, you better have your homework done because you're going to be caught with your pants down as you start to research things that you know nothing about. So I took the lead of let me figure out how to start just a candy company. I thought we could outsource this. I thought we could hire M&Ms to make the bars for us and white label it, and we'll just put our stickers on it, and we're great. Like I thought it was going to be literally, I'll make a couple phone calls, I'll throw a couple $1,000s out there, and we'll create this little business, and who knows what'll come of it. And then I realized when you get into the confectionery world, it's a rabbit hole that it's very, very cool rabbit hole to go down. But you need to have experience and you need to know how to cook the product, make the product better than anyone. And so as I went out to pitch the idea and pitch the business plan and tell people about it, because I was researching how to make basically mass production, contract manufacturing of true almond toffee, I realized I knew nothing about anything. I was so far out of it. And I started to then think of, oh my, do I really want to start this toffee business? Because it was, just like everyone else, when you get scared, you get lazy, you find excuses not to, and then you start focusing on things you know. So then I started to pivot a little bit back into like consulting for fitness and start things. And this is where we stopped. And we said, look, do you really want to do the toffee business? Because Nastasia had asked me as I came home one day, I just don't feel like you're really into it like I am. You remember that conversation we had? So where I had started to say, I don't know if the toffee business is the right thing. It doesn't seem like it's anything I have confidence with. And she'd asked me one of the most simple questions. Well, do you even know how to make it? Can you even speak to what it is to make it? Because you're trying to contract manufacture it. You're trying to sell it before it's sold. You're trying to figure out packaging and labeling and distribution and business. But you don't even know how to make your product. And I felt like such a rookie at everything at that point. Anything we'd known what to do, of how to create anything successful, I had forgotten it within like 30 seconds. So I called Nicholas. I said, I need to make the toffee. He's like, oh, really? Great. But I don't know how. And I need to understand the ins and outs of making the toffee because I'm trying to connect with people. about how to make the toffee from a contract manufacturing, and I can't even explain what goes into it very well.
Yeah, and something that made us so successful in our past career was that we never had a big ego. We were humbled to literally start at the bottom. Dominic had a master's degree and started as a trainer. I had years of management experience and started at the very, very bottom. And our success came because we did the grind work from the bottom to the top. And as leaders, we always understood what our team went through because we did that job.
We swept the floors.
Yeah.
We did the dishes, and we cooked, and we cleaned, and we ran, and we were CEO. Like, we did it all.
Yeah. So I was like, yo, if we want to do this and do it the right way, we have to learn how to make it. Even if one day we end up outsourcing it, it all begins with us. And we're going to really be able to perfect this. And so Nicholas sent over a YouTube video. It was like 25 minutes long of
Persevere.
how to make it.
Persevere.
He kept encouraging Dominic around persevering and don't give up and you'll figure it out. There were a few batches that went straight into the kitchen sink and in the trash, and one that flew over the balcony because he was so pissed. But we ultimately, Dominic took his time and really started to learn and understand how to make this product. And for me, sitting on the couch, it was about a span of a month. I saw this like really cool transformation. It was like this human that was doing it initially because it was the right thing to do. The right thing to do is for me to learn how to make the product that I will be selling one day. And it turned into this excitable, passionate, and unexpectedly extremely talented confectionery chef, to the point where Dominic was looking at this like a science project of how to make different chemicals work together and how to make things, heat differently and taste. And so he nailed Nicholas's original recipe. And then as we started to get more comfortable with this whole basic way of making the candy, my innovation came in and was like, well, why are we stopping at milk chocolate and dark chocolate? And so I threw at Dominic, let's do a white chocolate.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Don't take credit for that one.
I didn't. Which was mine.
Well, let me add to this. She's 100% spot on. Where my mindset, though, when I started making the toffee, I just need to do this technically so I know what to do so I can go sell it.
Yeah.
Then it became, well, this is bullshit. If I'm not the best at it, I can't teach anyone to be the best at it, and I can't hold a certain standard to it. Then, after failing the first 2 batches of toffee, my brains kicked on and said, you're going to go all in. Stop effing around. Let's get after this. Let's get focused on it and go make the toffee. So yes, I deconstructed it and I reconstructed it and I made it make sense to me. And I said, if I'm sorry, I love my brother, but I'll make a better toffee than he will over time because I'm also going all in. I don't have a side job. I have my only job is to take care of my wife and to get her back healthy and better than ever. And then my other job is to make sure that if I have the credibility of walking into a room to ask someone for money or to do business with them or to sell our toffee, I 100% know every ingredient, how it is, and I am an expert. Mm-hmm. But what I was racing against was time. In confectionery or bakery or in culinary, you're against great people that have done it forever, years and years and years and thousands of hours.
Trained experience.
And I'm like, I have to force feed myself to get better than all of them. So I never left the kitchen, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I would try and try and try and try and try, but I was doing it under the pretenses of the business we were creating had nothing to do with the industries you're comfortable with. It had all the principles that we desired.
Which
it was
are?
Family driven. Mm-hmm. You, Nicholas, myself, and more. It had the principles of us owning and operating our own controllable way that we can also take the proceeds, donate it, give back to charities, give back through philanthropy. It also had our independence and freedom for us to create as much or as little as we want to. Mm-hmm. But other important factors, hire employees, train employees, make their own businesses, make them rich and wealthy. Like that's all core to us. And Nastasia had brought this up in reflection after my frustration, after failing on a couple batches. She said, do you really want to do this? You want to do fitness, but no matter what do you want to do? And that's where my brain went, was all the intangibles of the values and the principles, not the product. so happenly, once I lost that brain fog and went all in on it, yeah, I'm really good.
Yeah.
I'm
And
really good. And then we started being creative with flavors, because then when my ego started to pump up of you can do this,
yeah.
then it was, what else can we do? At Christmas time, Nastasia had made some candies with
Oh,
pretzels
that's how it
and
was, yes.
chocolates. And there was a white chocolate Hershey
Yes.
Kiss on a pretzel. And I'm like, well, I'll make white chocolate. I'll make pretzel. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And then that tore the top off.
Yeah.
And by tearing that top off, that's where I wouldn't stop creating.
So for the next 2 months, we would collaborate and innovate on flavors and flavor pairings and different nut profiles and different chocolate profiles, and start putting these things together. And again, go through trial and error, perfect, and then move on to the next. And so basically, if you look at it in about a 3 month span.
In 60 days, we had 10 flavors. In 60 days, we had also contacted Flynn West. We were in the part of everything. Like, everything was in the cradle of getting started.
Right.
But there was a missing element. We hadn't been tested. We had given it to friends and family to try, got feedback, left, rights, too hard, too soft, too gooey, whatever. But we hadn't had any expertise come in and actually check it out to kind of sign off on, you guys are good or you guys are crap.
Yeah, so we had these 10 flavors created. We had a confectionery self-created genius in the form of Dominic that had been working on this. And at the same time, Nicholas from remote was doing the same and kind of cross-collaborating. And something that we aligned on that has been important to us just in our lives and in general. We really like to be of the highest quality. Like, we like to be the highest quality friends. We like to embark on the highest quality food. We like to experience the highest quality luxuries. And so we ditched the grocery store products and we did a ton of research to figure out where can we find the best ethically sourced, socially responsible products that will differentiate us from everybody else. And we don't even care if we have to pay a premium for it, because we want to be luxury. I don't like producing work that isn't 110%.
Isn't the best.
Whether it's an email or whether it's a piece of toffee that you're going to eat. And so we did a lot of background work again during this time, and we found the best of the best ingredients. And something that came along with the best of the best ingredients are the best of the best people who work in the confectionery space. And we are lucky enough to have a world-renowned representative that lives literally across the water on a boat. And Dominic literally cold called him and said, "Hey man, I need you to come to my house and teach me what to do, watch me make my toffee, give me any feedback. And I need a professional to tell me, like, is this good? So you've worked in the industry, you're from England, you guys have headquarters in Paris, you're in Montreal all the time." And the gentleman said, "I will be there." No joke. He's like, "I'll be there tomorrow." And we were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the first time outside of friends and family, passerbyers trying our toffee, and somebody to literally come and watch Dominic make it from a professional standpoint. So he gets on the boat and he comes over to our house and off they go.
Spend the whole day with him.
Yeah.
And that was a big turning point for us. But to what Nastasia had mentioned, cold calling. So this is for anyone that's in this scenario. You're the expert in the room, and you've been conditioned to be the expert in the room for many years. Now you change industries. Now you change everything of your work capacity. You change your business model. You go from the expert to the rookie. And so if you don't have that mental mind shift to go to rookie mode and eyes wide open, puppy dog style, and ask everyone for help and cold call 1,000 people to get one person to answer back, you'll never, ever grow into that new, because you'll want to walk in as the expert. I immediately wanted to walk into this whole confectionery, making candy as the expert with no expertise. And you could see it, and you just knew it wasn't genuine. And so by doing so, yes, before we ever got to, gentleman's name Mark is to come over and spend the day with me. There's countless emails, calls, but then once you start to like go and to connect with one person that's willing to help you, a second person does, a third person does, a fourth person does, because they see you genuinely want to make a great product. You
Yeah.
genuinely care about what you're doing, and you're genuinely doing it for the right purpose. Everyone becomes a straight
So
pro bono.
amazing.
We'll help you.
Yeah.
No questions asked. We'll do business later. Let's invest in what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Because they all want to be part of the story.
Yeah.
And it led us to, through channels of working with someone at YVR Kitchen that's been amazing with us, working with individuals through cross collaboration that's been, look, this could be your best spice, this could be your best chocolate, this could be your best nuts, and figuring it out to where finally you get to a point to where I need someone to validate my work to make sure it's good or not.
Yeah, so Mark was at our house for a good 8 hours. It was like getting a master's degree in confectionery kitchen all in a day. It was
the way it felt.
It was exhausting and so wonderful. But he kept picking at our toffee, and we had all these flavors out. Not all. It was like a few of the flavors that we had made. And he's like taking a little bite, breaking it, looking at it, putting it back down, taking a little bite, breaking it, looking at it, playing with it, and like not saying anything.
Yeah.
And at one point, he catches view of our whiteboard that had the list of all 10 flavors. And he had like tried, I think, like 2 or 3 of them that we had at the house at that point. And he looks at the whiteboard and he's like, what's all that? And Dominic goes, that's all of our flavors. He was like, what do you mean? I don't understand. And Dominic said, I've created all of those flavors, and that's what we're going to offer to sell. And he was like, well, how did you do that? And Dominic's like, Nastasia would say a flavor and I would go make it. He said, my mind is blown. Not only that you were able to do this in such a short amount of time, but you are an untrained chef that was able to figure this out. He goes, I don't think you understand. This takes years for people to create. And you're telling me you've done it in 60 days?
At the taste level, yes.
Yeah.
In fact, it had uniqueness. Now, mind you, it's really Nicholas's recipe.
Yep.
The base of it all. Mm-hmm. But where he did and he saw, he goes, the question he asked was, are you really going to go do this? And I get it, because the story we were telling him, just
It's
like we're
so
telling the
bizarre.
audience today,
Yeah.
it sounds like this side pet project that are you really going to go invest and do?
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, no, Mark, we're all in. I get it. We've had fitness industry experience and this is our background, and none of it has a translation over to where we're at, but we're 100% committed. And he goes, all right, well, I love it, but let me tell you where your, like, some of your areas to clean up are. And he went through an ABC checklist with us, and he said, trust me, you got a great product. Trust this process. I've helped you change a little bit from too much stirring and a little bit more sitting and a little bit temperature change, and you'll be amazed at your product even more. I'll listen to anybody to tell me anything about a great product now, because it's all good feedback, and there it went.
And something that he had brought up to us, which I think just brings me so much joy, that we decided to try something different, because we're not from this industry and we are not formally trained in this industry, which has its drawbacks or challenges, but also has its benefits. So he explained to us, because we're not formally trained and because we have never been given limitations on what could be, we just didn't know any different. So if we decided we wanted to put coffee, espresso beans in a candy, we figured out how to do it. If we thought there should be fruit on top of toffee, we just figured out how to do it. So he said, your ability to innovate and create without being limited because of traditional standards,
You don't know any
is
better.
going to be what takes your brand so far, because it's something that hasn't been done in our industry before. And hats to you for taking this vision and just going for it, kind of because we know no different. And that was a big reason why we didn't want to stay in our industry, because we did feel limited. We did feel lacking creativity. We did feel like everything that he was saying made so much sense to me, because that's where we were. And leaving to allow ourselves to do something else opened up a box that said, not only are we good at more than just one thing, but look at what we've been able to do because we haven't had a limiting mind around the possibilities. And so we're going to bring a product to the market in the industry that hasn't been seen before. We're reinventing the norm, and it has been so fucking fun that it just makes it so sweet and so exciting to create, and to be able to watch people when they eat it, their reaction and their joy and their happiness and their excitement. Like, this is what it's all about. And so it has translated from more than like just going to do something to now it's really becoming something that we're good at and that we love and that is fun and that we're pushing boundaries and we're young and exciting. And it's, I think how the greatest ideas get formulated are just when you allow yourself to go and to do.
Yeah, it's that fresh perspective. We've kept the mindset of not, the why nots, or
Yeah.
we've kept the perspective of why not when many people say, why would you?
Yeah.
And that's exactly where it is. We've had far more failures than we've had successes. It's even starting this venture of a new candy company. But why we know it's going to be the biggest and the greatest thing we've ever done is because of the values that it's aligned with. It have values around family, the values around charity and giving back, the values of freedom, but the values of being creative and inspirational. And we can and we will, and not the why nots, but why haven't we yet kind of mindset is the exact same approach we take and we took with parents passing away, unexpected medical conditions slapped in our face. And so what Two Brothers Toffee really is a reflection of Dominic and Nastasia, our family, our values. And what we get to do is now deliver it in a piece of candy. And that's why it tastes the best, because
Yeah.
it's made by the best values.
Yeah.
And we happen to align it with the best ingredients.
Yeah.
We call it toffee reimagined. Remove the toffee. It's just reimagine your possibilities of what you can go do and go achieve it. Because that's the difference of where we're at now versus where we were just not too long ago.
Right. Where it was hard to imagine anything.
Except
really.
for that day, that hour,
Yeah.
that minute, or that bullshit reason why you had to get up in the morning.
Yep. So after a massive reflection of what's important to us, we have been able to innovate and create, and with major excitement, we cannot wait to roll out to you our Two Brothers Toffee brand, which is more than just toffee, not your grandmother's toffee, but something that is exciting and fun and reimagined with possibility.
All right, we got to go. You ready to go?
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to our story. We hope that we inspired you to rethink what you are able to do, because the sky's the limit.
Thanks for tuning in.
See
Gotta
you
go.
later. Bye.